It all began in June 2011 when the Central Bank of Nigeria suddenly announced that it had issued an Islamic banking license to a bank in the country to offer financial services based on Islamic commercial jurisprudence. The Apex Bank immediately came under heavy criticism, with many arguing that the central bank doesn't have the powers to do so. Undeterred, the CBN challenged anyone who was opposed to it to go to court.
No problem with Islamic banking whatsoever.
One man, Mr. Godwin Ugboji, a legal practitioner, took up the challenge and sued the Apex Bank to court. A year later, a federal high court judge declared Islamic banking illegal and unconstitutional, stating that the CBN cannot issue an Islamic banking license without the consent of the National Assembly through the Ministry of Finance. He also added that the CBN Act and the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act, BOFIA, do not empower the CBN to do so. However, he dismissed the suit because, according to him, the plaintiff had no locus standi. Mr. Ugboji speaks on his bittersweet victory.
If you go to throughout the entire act of the Central Bank Act and the Bank and Other Financial Institution Acts, there's no provision for anything called Islamic jurisprudence. There's nothing like that. Nobody's having any problem with that. But if you want something of this nature to come, where you can regulate bank, then go to the National Assembly. That is the purport of our argument. That the lawmaking powers of the Federation is vested in the National Assembly by virtue of Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
While Mr. Ehise Yenya, a financial analyst, shares the sentiments of Mr. Ugboji and the court's ruling, the CBN believes otherwise.
CBN should obey the law. CBN is not the National Assembly. You cannot use a guideline to change the law. If Islamic banking has to happen, then the central bank should come up with a draft bill, take it to National Assembly, let it go through the normal process of public hearing, and then let the BOFIA be amended accordingly.
What the law says, the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act says, is that except with the permission of the governor, no bank can be named with the names Islamic or biblical or Quranic, those types of things. Right now in Nigeria, no bank is named as such.
With the apparent conflicting interpretation of the BOFIA Act, an economist and financial analyst, Dr. Abiodun Adedipe, paints a rather interesting scenario of how this could all play out.
If other parties having local standard come on the scene, and invariably the bank now gives the court gives the judgment that says it is illegal for the Central Bank of Nigeria to issue an Islamic banking license. That means the license already issued to the bank in question has become null and void under the law, which means ab initio it was not a banking license, and therefore that bank cannot operate in Nigeria as a legal entity with a banking license. So in which case it reverts down to status quo, where it was before the license, in which case it was simply an incorporated entity, basically. But if the case now fails, then the license will remain valid. Then the scenario will become a lot more interesting. Because what I now envisage is that other faith-based organizations can come forward on the basis of the case that CBN won against the challenge to Islamic banking, and now say we want licenses also that will recognize our faith. And that can truly be messy.
Islamic banking, like non-interest banking, works essentially on the principle of risk sharing between the capital provider and the user, while the profit or loss arising from the transaction is shared on an agreed basis. However, transactions are strictly based on Islamic laws. Financial experts argue that this form of banking is not synonymous with non-interest banking, as the CBN has made many to believe. They, however, insist that if the central bank wishes to legalize Islamic banking, it should simply follow due process and not exercise powers it does not have. For The Big Story, Esther Ugbodaga, Channels Television News.